we again change the topic. Now we know confrontation on all sides. Now we go towards early sexualization. We have a very special speaker, a lady whom we will encounter in a special way. It's a lady from America, from USA, and she's there. And it's not the matter of being cautious or precautions or female count. It's Dr. Judith Reisman from the USA. Yes, you can give an applause. This woman has performed brilliantly and concerning the topic of early sexualization, and she has inspired a lot to the film Founding Fathers of the Early Sexualization. So she wanted to be a part of the 9th AZK, and then briefly before she had a stroke. The lady is above 70, older than 70, and sometime this ticket will be expired, but didn't work out also this time, but we found a way. We have Skype. So we said we want to have Judith Reisman, have her here on stage, or on screen at least, and so we set up a connection to yours, and we'll have an exclusive Skype interview with this lady. Matthias, you will present Judith. She will give an interview by Matthias Ebert about the topic early sexualization. Do you know the presenter here? Matthias Ebert, certainly you know him. He is the initiator of the movement Concerned Parents. One sees him again and again in these huge demonstrations. He really speaks, and when you hear him, you feel his heart. There's a lot of power. And I asked him, as this is his strong topic, to interview Judith Reisman. Judith Reisman is a Jewish professor in the USA, and Matthias Ebert is he himself married and father of 4 children. Hello all together, what an event. You don't imagine how I feel to be able to sit here at the table with these heavy weights of the investigative information, but I have lived things, and I want to tell this to you as a concerned person. I have a happy marriage and father of family, but others have that also. In principle, I was what Ivo just said, someone who went to conferences, just filled his head with this about things, oh yes, chemtrails and so on, and the knowledge was growing more and more, but my activity was limited, and like this we cannot transform anything. Thank you. And about a year ago, in fact, already before, when Ivo issued this movie of Founding Fathers of Early Sexualization, maybe some know it, right? It's really tough, but it's still fair, right? One maybe did not take that in so much, but about a year ago, a friend of ours, Eugen, he was imprisoned because his daughter was leaving the sex ed and missed 2 hours of class. And in this sexual education, it was really wrong. And the teachers, the school was right away reporting this to the authorities and so on, to the court, and they had to pay a fine, just 30 euros, but they say, no, we don't pay a fine because our child was not well, right? She got a headache, she was not well at all at this topic, and so we don't have to pay a fine. And then the father was imprisoned, that right? And then that did something with me. I became really irritated, and you can just gulp it down, or you can become active. And there was this ignition, this spark. We go and demonstrate. We set up a signal, and then we were there, 30 people at this prison when Eugen was coming out again, and also Klagemauer TV was present. And this little film, that little movie that was turned there, it was going around the world, and something was happening. And we noticed, yes, one has to do something. It works. And then we set out to inform people more and more, and then we started the first demonstration. When more people are coming to Cologne, that will be more than 1,000 people were coming. In fact, it was passing from mouth to mouth, mouth to ear, and we went through the city and were shouting loud, "We don't allow this. The sexualization is bad for the children." And now this year we had already 6 demonstrations in Frankfurt, Stuttgart, Cologne, and so altogether we were connected by this one grief, this one worry, right? We are concerned parents. It's nothing really. The newspaper said, they said, who is concerned parents? Yeah, one doesn't know it. They are there and then they are gone, or no one knows. But still there are so many people who are connected, and this is what it ought to be. We got mails. Where can we give a donation? We only can say you cannot donate anything. You can download our flyer and distribute it in your area. We want to activate the people, right, in their places, right? Not that I send them the flyers and said you distribute them. We have to multiply. We don't have time. My daughter now, it's the first grade of primary school. If it goes on like this, I will also go into the prison. I will certainly not pay a fine, in no way. And I would wish that every one of you just has a look and sees which topic where is my irritation greatest, and then go ahead, right, and just revive people. What wake up, revive people, right? As you told it, right, several times. Just not participate in this war, right? Just that there are people who get out of this. We need people who bring that up, right? Who denounce this. Also from abroad, quickly contacts were coming in, and they said, well, let's become synergic, right? Wow, and now it's happened in the last 6 months, and now in many places that's happening, and it's not about me. Many other people are organizing demonstrations and so on, and I have the expectation that the population will wake up. And I think at least 90-95% of the population have a big problem, a huge problem with it when they just learn about it, right? Even more, right? Everyone has a problem with it, right? I never met anyone who said, "Oh, that's okay," right? And there you see, with in the big banks, right? People are just let go, right? And here, a father of 9 children and with his wife at home, and he is imprisoned, right? And he's not the single one, right? Not only because of Eugen, it's tens of times has happened in Germany, right? Anna Wiens, mother of 12 children, right? She was imprisoned for more than a week, right? 12 children at home. Where's righteousness? So what happens if we keep silent, right, and don't do anything? So we have set out our flyers. We have this DVD and brochure founding fathers of early sexualization, right? It's an excellent tool, right? When you say, oh yes, that's bad, then you say, oh yeah, you're religious fool, and you have your stamp. But then you say, look here what that is, and what are the people in the background, and then one sees what cruelty that is. And one of these people in the background, he will be analyzed a bit more. I have now the privilege to be able to interview Dr. Reisman. So, and I'm really looking forward to her answers, and it's a fantastic thing that we can have her with us. Yeah. I would present her briefly. For also, she is a heavyweight, not from her physical weight, but what she has achieved in her life. She's not just somebody, but she has something to say. She has made a way, has learned a lot in her life, and has done a lot, worked a lot in this area. Judith Reisman, born 11th of April 1935 in New Jersey, is US-American Jewish communication scientist and university professor. Reisman got her master's degree in communication science at Case Western Reserve University in 1976 and achieved her doctorate there in 1980. She was associate professor at the University of Haifa in 1981 to 1983. Afterwards, she was full research professor at American University from 1983 to 1985. 1990, for some time she was adjunct lecturer at George Mason University. Since 2011, she has been visiting professor at the School of Law of Liberty University, a Christian private university. Dr. Reisman has become well known because of her sharp criticism of person and work of the so-called sexual scientist Alfred Charles Kinsey. And that's he's the origin why all this has come about with this early sexualization question of Dr. Reisman. Do you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you fine. Oh, technology is wondrous today.
Yeah, great. Great. Hello to America.
Well, hello. I'm sorry I don't have German, but I'm very happy to be with you today. Yes, very happy.
Dr. Reisman. Yeah, we also. Dear Dr. Reisman, when one takes a look at your notable life's work and resume, then one doesn't have the impression that you are a person who would just spread rumors around or unfounded allegation. What exactly moved you to thoroughly question and publicly criticize so sharply the work of Alfred C. Kinsey?
Well, it's a long story, which you can read in my books in Sexual Sabotage or in Kinsey Crimes and Consequences. But the short answer to that is it had to be personal. I was working for television for Captain Kangaroo, was a very popular show in our country, and found that my daughter, at age 10, had been raped by the boy upstairs, who was age 13. And this was 1965. This was really unheard of at that time. He knew us. He knew the family, and I tried to understand what had motivated him. The fact is, he turned out to have sexually assaulted children all over the neighborhood, and he was protected by the protection agencies that had been assigned to give him therapy. That got me quite curious about everything about Kinsey and everything about the law as it pertained to Kinsey. And I began to embark on the journey to understand why and what happened. He was, by the way, sent by his parents to England, which is where he was from. So I didn't have an opportunity to to do what probably I would have wanted to do to him, and I embarked on that journey instead to study everything I could about Kinsey, and the facts were there in his own books. The information was readily available to anyone who really chose to look, and that's how I got started. Yeah.
So I feel sorry for this, really. What happened there, that must be really cruel to have their own daughter raped. All these countless proven abuses of children, from sexual experiments all the way to forced orgasm on infants, are a brutal scandal. Why is Kinsey, in his role as father of modern sexual sciences, so important for many discussions concerning sexual education in schools?
Yeah, well, first of all, those alleged orgasms of a 2-month-old baby, of a 4-year-old child, 26 orgasms, quote unquote, in 24 hours. Those kinds of responses came from a sadomasochist. Kinsey himself was a homosexual, bisexual, combination thereof, sadomasochistic, a pornography addict. He was a psychopath, and he reported that these screams, the cries, the collapses, the fainting, and all this, that they were orgasms. When I read that in his own book, I said to myself, only a sadomasochistic pedophile would say something like that, would view human sexual experiences as in this way. And he becomes the foundation for all sex education, not just in the United States, because originally, I thought it was in the United States. Globally, right now, the UN has brought the Kinsey Institute, which is alive and well now and funded by our government and others, private and public money. Right now, we have a campaign to stop the Kinsey Institute. He's in the UN, the Kinsey Institute, despite the fact that all of the sex education globally is based upon crimes against children, brutal crimes against children. The whole point of sex education is Kinsey's argument that, quote, children are sexual from birth. That's the entire structure of sex education globally in the world. And it comes from false data, criminally derived data from Kinsey, which then has spun off into sex education through the Kinsey Institute, through the Institute for the, quote, advanced study of sexuality, down into the schools, down into the legislators, and so forth, and changed our laws completely, and changed the laws in the rest of the world. This man has had an enormous influence, more so than I would say just about any human being in the 20th century.
That's tough. But why, when we see all these backgrounds that have been proven, one asks, why does all of science base its teaching on this barbarous experiments? Are they all under the same blanket, or is he the one dominant character behind this?
Well, Kinsey is certainly the dominant founder, the foundation of all of this. But just like eugenics, our scientists all stood in line to to really genuflect to the eugenics concept. We were sterilizing people by the thousands. We had children who were institutionalized, who were called, feeble-minded or something, and they were, we had we scientists are no different than anybody else. They call themselves scientists. They want to be liked by everybody. They want to be published in the journals and so forth. And they quickly come on board when one paradigm, when one scientific idea seems to be pushed. And it was pushed by Rockefeller Foundation, which awarded major funds to people. It was a very important foundation, and Kinsey was supported by the Rockefeller Foundation, which also was involved in, other things. So the ability of individuals to withstand the onslaught of everybody's universal opinion was not going to happen. The mass media had been promoting Kinsey fantastically. 70% of the newspapers at the time put him in the headlines, put him on the second page of the newspapers, or the first page. There was a massive blitz, an ongoing blitz, to say that this was modern science. And people want to be modern, don't they? And scientists especially want to be modern. So he was the foundation, and then everything that flowed from that is what we're facing today. We see in the trafficking of children, we see the handwriting of Kinsey.
Well, I can understand this with science, but with the media is a different thing, for we have freedom of the press, and we should have neutral media reporting in a neutral way, one should think, right? And I would say, how would you personally evaluate the media with reference to this?
Well, the mass media is in the service of its owners. I'm afraid that's going to be it's a global problem. It has been a global problem for a very long time, and it simply doesn't print, the things that its owners don't want it to print. You can see that right now with what's happening in England with the BBC. They're starting finally to reveal the massive abuse of children by highly placed MPs and all sorts of people in positions of power. And that's true everywhere, I would think. If it's true in England, it's true here. And we don't get reports of the abuse that's taking place by our highly placed people. And yet there is apparently supposedly a real attempt to try and deal with, to capture the people who abuse the children, but they're capturing the little people, the few who abuse children. That's very good, but certainly it's not adequate. One of the major players in Kinsey's abuse of children, the role, has been Hugh Hefner of Playboy magazine. He said he read Kinsey when he was in college, and he had been a virgin in college, like most guys, most men at that time. He read Kinsey, and he said he would be Kinsey's pamphleteer. I'll be his pamphleteer. He said, if he was the science, I am going to popularize his ideas. And through Playboy, he popularized his ideas, the commercialization of womanhood, of the destruction of family. This was all Kinsey, and this is all Hefner. His abuse of children, This was Kinsey. This is Hefner. He had been publishing child pornography, what was really child pornography, for years. I was sued by Playboy, so to speak, in the Netherlands for saying that it was a child pornographer, and we won in the Netherlands. I should think that would mean that you could win that case anywhere. So the mass media has been in the service of its owners, and not in the service of the people. Absolutely not in the service of the people. That has been from the turn of the century to today.
Ja, ich weiß gar nicht, ob Sie eben schon zugeschaltet waren. Es geht darum, einfach jetzt hier in Deutschland zum Beispiel, aber es ist ja auch ein weltweites Problem. Hat es jetzt Fälle gegeben, wo eben Eltern inhaftiert wurden, die ihre Kinder vor
worldwide spreading and growth of mandatory sex education, even in primary schools, sexualization of children already in kindergarten is a cause of concern, right? And in Germany, this led to imprisonment of parents. Also in other countries, we learn that parents stand up against this early sexualization of their children in schools. What do you think is behind this obstinate pressure to force children to be confronted with sexual diversity as comprehensively as possible?
Yes, well, it's not sexual diversity, it's sexual corruption, and it's not comprehensive, because if it were comprehensive, they would tell the truth about what sexual activities produce. It's clear. It's absolutely clear that the message, that the aim is the destruction of the parents, the clear attempt of the state to control the minds and the behaviors of the children at the earliest ages. And we know from experience, certainly Germany knows from experience in the past, and even we know from experience, that when the state takes over and has control of the children's minds and the children's behavior, that this can only lead to chaos, this can only lead to destruction. I think it's clear that is the aim of the effort. Through pornography and through the sex education, which is pornography. This is pornography in the school. Pornography with the control, with the agreement of the school, which is very important, that the children learn that the pornography they see and the pornography they should are not supposed to see, they see it in the school, and they're told this is fine. This opens the door to children as pornography, as poses and so on. The pornography in the industry. It opens the door for child trafficking. It opens the door to multiple things, and very important, it opens the door to big pharmacology, big pharma, because they make a fortune from dysfunctional children and dysfunctional parents, because parents become dysfunctional. They make a fortune, not just from Viagra, not just from the attempt to get female Viagra, not just that, but the vaccines that the children have to have, because they will get allegedly a venereal disease. Well, they will if they're taught it's okay in the classroom. So there are massive money. There's huge money, billions of dollars, for the pharmaceutical industry, for the pornography industry, for the legislators who are making money from the pharmaceutical industry and the pornography industry quietly. And there is no question that the effort is to eliminate the parents, to eliminate the basis of their objection, which had been Christianity and even Muslims, objecting, and to have complete control of the child and therefore the future. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Ja, das ist heftig, das ist echt heftig. Und es ist aber auch so, jetzt um mal einen Gegenpol zu setzen, es gibt aber auch Erfolge im Bereich dieser Arbeit. Sie haben ja wirklich jetzt schon seit sehr vielen Jahren gekämpft.
I heard that you had success also in Croatia. In fact, you were very active, you helped the people there, and there was resistance and protests. Now the question here, what would you recommend to concerned parents who are in this room here, who are confronted with this case? I have also a little daughter in grade school. What can grandparents do when they are forced to see how innate values and morals are trampled underfoot and the next generation is being trained to become perverts? What would you recommend to us?
Yeah, that's about the hardest question. Originally, when I did my research for the U.S. Department of Justice on Playboy, Penthouse, and Hustler, and found that they were pushing child pornography, so hard, I thought, goodness, we'll get that out through the media and everything will be taken care of. Well, unfortunately, that's not what happened. The media attacked like insane because they didn't like the results their bosses didn't like, and it's been a hard road to hoe. The success in Croatia, the Croatian people began to understand what Kinsey did, and Playboy, by the way, Hefner, and what that kicked off. And the Constitutional Court, their Supreme Court, ruled that the sex education that they were going to have over the protests of the people would be canceled, and so they canceled it. The same thing happened in France. The Minister of Education just canceled the sex education because the parents came out against it so strongly. They were being led by a powerful lady, and they canceled it too. I would tell the German people, the Swiss and so on, people all over the world, that protests of the parents is extremely important, and taking your children out, which is what the French did, is extremely important. But you get arrested in Germany for that and put in jail, and your children are taken from you, and that's somewhat what's happening here too. But you have to get the people organized in large enough numbers so that they become a force to reckon with. We have a campaign, stopthekinsey.org, which you can go to on the web and sign the petition there. They are organizing. There's a organization in Croatia, Judith Reisman, number one or something, to protest. They sent out their materials to the UN because the UN is going to be using the Kinsey Institute to globally reframe this sex education worldwide, and that will mean that the children will be liable for appearing. It will be legal for them to appear in pornographic publications. It will be legal for them to be prostituted. The attempt is going to be lower the age of consent, to make everything open, as they attempted in Germany years ago. Remember, with the radical left, they were advocating exactly that to the children, with the children. And the only way is to start massively mobilizing parents everywhere, getting those who are in positions of power out of positions of power, out of there. That's got to be an real organized effort. And I'll help you. If you want me to come, I'll be glad to help you every way that I possibly can to do that. And it's the only way that we can protect the children. It's our war. It's our war today. They're talking about World War III. We're in World War III. World War III is the effort, strong and supported by every country effort to get the children away from their parents. We're in it, and we have to face it as a war, and that would mean total mobilization. Yeah.
Danke erstmal für Ihr Angebot, uns zu helfen, herzukommen. Das ist ja wirklich eine sehr große Freude. Ja, liebe Frau Dr. Reisman, es ist auch so, dass eben von meinem Freund Eugen,
in fact, Dr. Reisman, in fact, my friend Eugen, his little daughter, stood up in class and went out of the class, a small child. What do you think? It's important to encourage children to stand up and to listen to their feeling, stand up on their own accord, that they may go out, right? When the parents are not informed, right? It's right that one can really raise up the children in this way. Yeah. You see, it's my worry that I'm not there when this happens to a child. Do you think it's helpful?
Well, yeah, certainly it's important for children to do that. We can't expect the little kids to fight their own battles, the little ones. That's just not fair. The adults have to fight their battles for them. High school kids, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I was a busy, aggressive kid in high school, standing up for my rights. So high school kids they certainly should be organizing themselves. It's important for the parents to ask their children what's going on in school, to ask direct questions about whether they've been taught anything about sex, because they are told not to reveal it, and most children don't want to talk about such things, and they certainly don't want to talk about it to their parents. So you've got to encourage parents to ask their children what is happening in the schools. And I would say in Switzerland, I understood that they really had some success in stopping the federally imposed sex education, but all of the teachers have been taught that way. So, yeah, I would encourage the kids to do it at a high school level, certainly.
Okay, ja, das macht Sinn, Wir kommen jetzt auch schon zum Ende und ja, abschließend.
Now we're closing. So we had the other speakers. We heard there's still a chance that one can still turn around this situation. What do you think, that we have a chance in stopping this dangerous development? Also, so much seems to stand in our way.
Well, I think we have no alternative. You know, it's our responsibility. It's our job. Lives are at stake. Our children's lives are at stake. Other children's lives are at stake. Trafficking, which is such a problem, trafficking of children now, will no longer be a problem when they are allowed to be trafficked. So I think we have absolutely no alternative except to fight this horrible thing. And if we organize and fight as we should, I believe that God's on our side. He just wants to see what we're going to do about it.
hearty thanks for taking the time for this interview. We wish you all the best, much strength and success for all your further work, also much health. Just go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate being here enormously. Thank you.